Okay, my early days of education started in the little school, Pleasantville, which was across the highway from where I lived. And the first 5 years of our time in grade school, the school did not have a piano. There was no music that was required. And the school was run by strictly natives of Scandinavian countries, and they didn't think that kind of thing was necessary, whatever. So, in turn, some of us that had spent those first 5 years in that school without music are still hampered by this problem because we're not musically inclined, and that was because it was not offered to us. The school was a one-room school, and at one time when I was there for just a matter of a few days, of 61 people, one teacher, and you can understand that the time spent in school was more important than just plain discipline and learning the basics. As time went on, and from my life, I could see the disadvantage that we had of not having been involved in those extracurricular activities. And I moved on and got involved in our school, got elected to the school board, and I stayed there for, I think, 12 years, and I was president for a number of years, and I was the president during the period that we decided to expand our school, and with the help of an administrator that had a foresight in the requirements of school, and we went to the arts. And it was a difficult sell because we still had people that didn't think those things were necessary. Reading, writing, arithmetic was more necessary. Learning your own behavior patterns was more necessary. But we had moved on to the point where we needed to progress, and the culture that we were involved in as a board, being exposed to those things from other people and stuff, we chose to develop that part of our school, get an auditorium, and then we could expand that section. And the problem we had was that the people were not ready for it, and we had to convince them that this was an important part of life. And I could relate to that because my father only had 3 years of school, and he finally got into the years of retirement, and it limited in interest, not because he wasn't interested, but because he was never exposed. He couldn't appreciate a football game or a baseball game because he didn't understand. And so we kept pushing the issue that this was an important part of sending our kids to school. We were preparing them for another stage in their life, which they couldn't avoid, which is their senior life, when they were eventually going into retirement. It's hard to appreciate that today because the environment group today has been trained, and they can find things to do with their time. But you could think back the days of my father and his father, and that group was difficult for them to appreciate that. Many other interesting things about our school was at the time I was elected to the school board, I was, I think, about 30 years old, and our senior member was 70-some years old. And my first thought was, what is a man 70-some years old with no kids doing on the school board? He'd been there for several years. And I've defended him many times since that, because I said he made a contribution that the rest of them could not make. And that is that he God kept us out of trouble. When we'd come up with new ideas, and either too early in this period, or he'd always say, well, we tried this, or we discussed that, and this is the way it turned out. So I gave the gentleman a lot of credit for what his participation was in the school board. And education goes on in my interest because I don't think people understand why they go to school. You go to school for one purpose, and that is to learn. And if you haven't gone to school with the purpose of learning how to learn, you're going to be in trouble in our technology world today. Because, the thing that you train yourself for, probably back in occupational school periods, don't even exist anymore. So you're in the learning process all your life, and you're going to continue to be in that, probably more than we even are now as time goes on.